So we're starting the finance committee meeting to go over the American Rescue Plan Act funding, and basically just to talk about what's going to be spent that we don't know about, how the 2.7 million came about to pay for the buildings that we got the press release on, and then future plans to keep city councilors that weren't kept in the loop, because I'm not really sure if Council President Williams and Councilor Fenton were kept in the loop because they were in the press release. So I don't know, TJ's ready? You had got a call?
I'm here, sir. I just got a call. I'm here.
Okay. So how about we start with how the 2.7 came about? Was Councilor Williams and Fenton aware of it and the rest of the council wasn't? Like, how'd that play out?
So when I became aware of the 3 buildings down on Main Street, Main and State, I guess, was the opportunity to acquire the buildings so we can own the property, so we can prevent further landlords from, I don't want to say slumlords, but landlords that have been trying to like wait for a big payday either from MGM or another big place. We've been actively marketing those places, and we haven't had any bites. The few restaurants and other things that have tried to go in there, the landlords would always raise the rents on them. So one example is a restaurant wanted to go in, they came to terms on a lease, they came in to sign the paperwork, the landlord was like, forget it, I'm raising the lease again. So then they're like, oh, so they leave, they do the math, they come up and they figure it out. Okay, we'll come back, we'll do the new terms, it's still gonna work for us. And then they go back in to sign it the second time, and then the landlord said, no, just kidding, we're gonna raise the lease payments again, trying to make money back. I think you guys all know that when Helen Colton Harris was in one of those buildings, their HHS, they didn't have working elevators, the landlord didn't pay for the heat or the water bill, so we had to move them up to 311 State Street. So we kind of got frustrated. I didn't even know they were on the market that much in that sense until relatively recently. I can't speak to the Marcus and the Fenton piece only because I was on vacation when they did the press release and said they're going to do it. The funds have since been encumbered but not spent, and that's kind of where we are at with those buildings.
So what are those building uses going to be for, or do we plan to sell them now that we own them? Like, what's the plans for the building?
Yeah, so I'll defer the big answers to Tim Sheehan, only because I know we don't want to be a landlord. We want to kind of get them, take control, and then unload them as quickly as possible in a year or less. But I'll defer to Tim Sheehan for what he sees as restaurants and other space within those buildings.
All right, well, I'll reach out to Tim and ask that question because he's not here today to answer it.
Yeah, there's a big economic development thing downtown that he's been at all day. So
yeah. So then I wanted to move on because I know that Councilor Letterman and I were very, very, very vocal about being aware of what the funding is going to be spent on, and that's one of the reasons we didn't want to even approve. Even though we know we're not over how the money is spent, we did have a conversation about being kept in the loop on how the money will be spent. And so, I mean, that just didn't happen. We got a wind of it via press release.
Which one? For the 3 million for the building?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm definitely still committed to doing the listening tours and having meetings and doing all that stuff. I know Tom is committed to doing the same. That was just one of those that came up real quick of an opportunity that we didn't want to pass up with it being, I think it was, Tom, I guess, was it in foreclosure, on the bank foreclosure? We just wanted to make sure a buyer didn't come in and swoop it up.
Yeah, my conversations with Tim, that's what I was told about. And I think, Counselor, to speak to your point, I think we envision having, as we're going through building this process to try to figure out how the nuts and bolts of this work for everybody to be able to access the money, the council is going to be playing a very key role on all of our RFP committees. You know, there's going to be people on those bodies kind of doing the evaluations as we go to run through each program. So that's kind of how I envision it. I know, you know, TJ and the mayor's office everybody's on board with that type of structure for this. So there's going to be, you know, a considerable input from the council, and I'll leave that up to the body to figure out who they want to put on which committees, because there's going to be a few of them. You know, it's not going to be just like one RFP. It'll be, you know, there'll be a business RFP. There'll be RFPs for households and resident. You know, there's a lot of pools and buckets and different
nonprofit RFPs. There's gonna be a lot of RFPs that we're gonna draft and put out in the near future. So
yeah, and you know, the councilors, different councils may want to be part of those different selection committees or not. You know what I mean? They may have interests in one versus the other. So yeah, I do think 100% that that's going to be still in place. There's no need to even, you know, address changing that, because we want input from the public. We want input from the counselors. You know, if there's something specific that's important to a counselor, that's probably a committee, you know, or a review committee they'll want to be in.
And I'll stand by the statement I said before going into this. I don't think it's healthy for the government to spend $93 million without the input from the council and the residents and the business community. I just don't think it's a good way to go about doing business.
Yeah, and I want to, you know, Councilor Whitfield, I wanted to have like a regular standing meeting where I could come as director in front of the council and kind of answer whatever question. It might be finance subcommittee, probably makes the most sense. And, you know, you can figure out when with the other councilors what they think is a good date and time for that type of thing. And I don't know, you know, every week, I don't know if I'll have much to report on like a 7-day basis, but you know what I mean? Like, I want to come and start, you know, these conversations as soon as possible and start talking about, you know, this is what we're doing. This is the structure we're building. You know, what do you guys see as something that's a priority from your constituents? You know, let's build into the program how we address those. But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of doing that and having a regular standing thing that we all get together and put our heads together.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. It's just like when these situations, we're caught off guard too, because we have constituents calling us like, how this get decided, so it would be great if we could get to a place with Mayor Sarno where and Tim Sheehan, because Tim Sheehan was also on that meeting when we talked about all being in the loop and on the same page with how the money is being spent. So it'd be great if we're kept in the loop, because like we keep saying, we're the front line. And so the constituents come to us and they're asking us how this happened, and we don't know. And so it just doesn't, it seems like, you know, sneaky government spending, you know, to the community. It seems like, oh, the administration is going to do what they always do, spend the money how they want, and then let us know. And so it'd be good if we can get in front of that to dispel those rumors ahead of time. Now, this is a standing meeting. It's every Thursday at 4:45. But if you have nothing to report, I will cancel it, because we don't need to have.
I don't know. I don't think I could commit to a 4:45 every Thursday, just given family commitment.
It doesn't have to be you. It could be one of you. You know.
I'm just saying. I know he's got a family. He's got a family commitments too. I got 3 kids. He's got 4. So
yeah, we can work something out. I want to. Like
we can talk about it if we need to.
Value added.
Yeah, and we don't always have to have them. Like, they can always be canceled. Like, if there's nothing to report out on, we'll just cancel it. And it doesn't have to be Thursday at 4:45. But I work during the day, and so it can't be during your normal working hours probably either.
Well, I figured we would do something in like a late afternoon, early evening thing. That's very much what I envisioned, because it's easier for everybody. Let's face it, for residents too, because a lot of them are working during the day. So yeah, no, like I said, I'm looking forward to this being sort of this whole group effort where we're all going together. You know, I just got into the chair on Monday, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up. So I'm sort of trying to figure that part out, and I don't have a whole lot of good information to give you on which counselors to talk to, because I really was not involved in that. Yeah. So I'll just defer to maybe Tim has better knowledge on that front. But what I will say is that, you know, I think it makes a lot of sense to have these standing meetings starting kind of now and going forward, you know. And
so I don't know if it makes sense for me to kind of explain the impetus of Tom's kind of new unit, new department. And then I don't know if you saw the press release the mayor sent out today about the technical assistance and compliance office that I think Tracy, I
Shay.
alluded to in one of our conversations,
Mhm.
probably before vacation. So I don't know if it makes sense for me to kind of walk
Yeah,
through it.
yeah, you could talk about that because right after that, I just want to jump in. If there's any other spending plans that are coming down the pike in the near future that we can get ahead of.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about Tom's
So-
role and Shay's role.
Yep. So it became apparent that when we got the 93.8 and potentially additional 28.9 or 29.8 from the county allocations, that all the reporting and all the work that goes with it, that we needed a dedicated person that understands law, contracts, procurement, economic development, job creation, and trying to get the housing piece up, and the natural fit was Tom, given his background as the director of the parking authority, the general counsel for the redevelopment authority, and just the advisor and counsel to the city council, a lawyer in the law department, understanding all up to date on all the procurement laws, because we want to be able to turn on a dime. We want to be able to kind of get it in, have Tom get the RFPs drafted, get them out, get them back in, award contracts, and do it on a rolling basis if necessary. So his skill set is something we needed, so we wanted to jump on it and take advantage of that. In addition to Tom, there's going to be an analyst or two assigned to him that he's going to be having them do the analytical work, the reporting, all the stuff that keeps track, the data reports for the council, for the public, for the mayor, whoever, to make sure that we're on top of it. We are writing memos to the file for everything we spend money on, how it relates to the pandemic and the kind of broad outlines in the interim final rule for the rule that govern this. And that's just so we can set ourselves up to be able to defend if a bureaucrat comes in 5 years from now and says, well, we don't agree with that's pandemic related. We can actually have all the facts. So we're not trying to piecemeal our memories from 5 years ago. So that was
I think Tom's an excellent choice.
Thanks. He was definitely the right choice, and he's excited about the opportunity. And then by really getting into the social equity piece that's contained in the law, getting into the disadvantaged communities, getting into conversations we've had with the community about how do we get Springfield contracts, city contracts, how do we get state contracts? We've had a couple of focus groups. I brought the concept to Che probably last March and said, hey, I'm thinking of a unit dedicated to technical assistance and compliance. And technical assistance in my mind is not only do you understand the process of how to get a city contract, but if you're a vendor that's doing business in the city, you need to be able to get bonded. In order to get bonded, you need to have good credit. To have good credit, you need to have your books in order. So we can do financial counseling, we can do accounts payable, accounts receivable, all those little things that will help a company, get bonded, be able to get these contracts. Maybe we link them up with local banks to say, hey, this may not be a company that is traditionally bonded based upon whatever things rules they have, but if the city's backing and trying to get them money, can you guys help give them, backing in order for them to kind of get the supplies and materials up front? So when Che and I sat down and started talking about it, he just got motivated and fired up about the concept of what this can do to all the businesses in Springfield if we can get them to understand and get onto our contracts and our bid processes. Now, I think I told you, Tracy, maybe I didn't. My test case was McNair Business Solutions. They've been asking me for help to get onto the city contract for years.
Who's that? Say that again.
McNair Business Solutions. It's a Springfield photocopy company, business machine company. And they've been trying to get business through Springfield for years, but Ricoh and Xerox had them cornered the market. And when we finally got them set up to be on the state bid list, they became Konica Minolta. So now we have Rico, Konica Minolta, and Xerox. Konica Minolta, so now I said to McNair Business Solutions, as the leases come up, sell your services. If you're equal or better and you're local, you know, we want our departments to go with McNair Business Solutions. That's had tremendous effect because McNair Business Solutions employs all their employees locally. All their repair techs local, all their people are local. Rico, they come up from Southern Connecticut to come fix our copiers. So that's how to get me really thinking about this concept and what it can do for every other business out there. And so I'm very excited about it. Che's very excited about it. He's got a lot of great ideas, and he had tremendous success on the REO with the Brightwood Lincoln project, that he was just a natural choice of the person that can take us to the next level. He's got a lot of connections in the communities that growing up here and being around, just knowing everybody, it just, he's got a lot of trust from me, trust from the mayor, hopefully trust from the council. So it just made a ton of sense. And that's going to bring us in line with a lot of that, you know, trying to fix some of the past issues or disenfranchisement, or even just the sense that Springfield companies have a tough time getting jobs in Springfield. We're trying to dispel all that.
All right, I appreciate that. Che, another good choice. Outstanding guy, just like Tom. So look, I'm very excited about both of those choices, and you know, that's all I have to say about that.
Counselor, I think one of the first deliverables, you know, I would want to start, you know, having you guys take a look at and share with the council would be, like TJ referenced, you know, those RFP draftings that we're going to be doing. You know, we're obviously want as much input as possible from the public, so that's a part of that drafting process. But some of the nuts and bolts stuff can be done before that, and you know, that's stuff that I'd like to start showing to you guys sooner than later. And that's going to be probably my first set of stuff to start sending over to this committee and say, hey, take a look at this. These are some of the RFPs we've been coming up with. Obviously, some of the details are out because we want to get all the feedback from the public. But you know, this is sort of the process we're thinking, the timeline we're thinking, and like TJ referenced, I think we're going to see a lot of these be rolling applications where people aren't going to be forced to scramble for a deadline. We're going to be taking them as they come in with, you know, a bucket full of money, you know, identified for a total pool, and then we'll have these committees set up to evaluate each one application as we get them.
And that's fantastic, because we did talk to TJ about listening sessions already. Yep. And so we are on our way to scheduling listening sessions. Right. Councilor Hurst and I on September 22nd, and I think October 6th was the next date. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll get a press release out and a quote from you guys. And
yeah, no, we definitely. The more we can get this money out, the more we get the money out, yes, but the more we can get the feedback from the community, the better off everyone's going to feel about it.
Right.
And I think sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just saying, I think we're in the process of developing some, you know, surveys to send out too, that people can take online for different groups. You know, there's a couple categories in those that make sense too. And I'm hoping to kind of fine tune that and have that out on the street as soon as possible, so that, you know, the more data collection we can get, the better. The public listening ones are really the best ones. You sit down and people come in and they really talk to you, and you can get a better sense of what's important to them. So that part's it, you know, but overall data, we'll get some more of that too by doing some survey stuff, and we'll have a whole group of things to look at as we get ready to push the whole program out on the street.
And the first two listening sessions that we're scheduling are going to be virtual. And so we're trying to get as many people, because some folks still don't want to gather because of COVID and the Delta variant. So they'll be virtual, but that's all going to come out soon. We're still trying to get it organized and everything, organized with you guys. So I appreciate TJ willingness to do that. And we had talked about it before too, so I appreciate your willingness to do that. So,
all right. So to answer your second question, I'll brace for the impact, but in the bill contains money to provide for premium pay for essential workers. And What has been spent to date was a merit bonus for all non-bargaining employees that met a certain criteria of anywhere from $0 to $5,000 for going above and beyond for the pandemic. And the non-bargaining folks have received, most of them have received theirs through this criteria. And then each of the bargaining units are negotiating with Bill Mahoney on getting it for each of the units. Our goal is to get it wrapped up as quickly as possible into the hands of the employees as a thank you for their tremendous commitment to the city during the pandemic.
You have the number?
982,500.
982,000 for essential workers?
For non-bargaining essential workers.
Non-bargaining essential workers. So what's gonna happen with the bargaining one?
Each bargaining unit's talking to Bill and agreeing to the criteria. And then once they sign off on it on a tentative agreement, we'll go through the same exact process and we'll get the money out to them based upon. So the criteria basically is if you were like the police department, you're front facing, you had a lot more exposure, you were in every day, you did this, you can get up to max $5 grand. But if you didn't come in, you worked from home, but you barely work from home because your job just doesn't, you know, if you're in a position that you can't work from home, you'll get a slightly lower amount and then the range in between. So the hope is that the DPWs, the police, the fires are going to get the max, if not close to the max.
I mean, I think that's money well spent, you know. I don't have I don't have an issue with essential workers getting what they deserve. COVID was tough. COVID is tough. It's not over. And I think that's money very well spent. It's just been nice to know about it. Anything else?
Let me look. I don't know what this one is. It's site improvement for the SRA for $135,000. That's news to me. I don't know what that is. You have any idea,
What does it say with the SRA?
It's just $135,000 for site improvements has been allocated, and I don't know what that is.
Good question for Amanda.
Let me get that information and get back to you.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh, okay, all right. So it's 2.865 million set aside and encumbered for the site on State Street and Colonial Block on Main Street. 135,000 has been expended out of that 3 million allocation. I just got to get what that means. What that
It wasn't spent. It wasn't spent.
135 was actually already spent.
But the rest is not
left.
Yeah, the rest has not been spent.
Not been spent because we still
For that same purchase that we were talking about
It's all
earlier.
related to the same.
It must be related to it.
I think it's the deposit. I would guess that's a fractional number on the thing that adds up to.
That would make sense. We'll get the answer to that one, but that would make sense.
Yeah.
All right. If you could find out for sure and let us know, that'd be great. Anything else?
That's it.
So far.
So far.
There'll be a lot more that we talk about. There'll be a lot more we put on these giant lists, and it's going to be a fun time to talk about all these things. It's like these good problems to have, right? We have this pool of money. We're going to do a lot of good with it. It's very exciting. Very
You
exciting.
can't forget about the $12 million we used for lost revenue.
12 million what?
We used for lost revenue that you guys adopted in the
Oh,
budget.
yeah. Was that CARES Act though?
No, that was ARPA.
Oh, it was ARPA.
Because
All right.
CARES Act wouldn't let us do it. Wouldn't let us replace lost revenue.
Yeah, ARPA
It
does.
wasn't as flexible.
I don't have the numbers with me today. We still have CARES money available.
Yeah.
Because we're fighting with FEMA. This sounds terrible. FEMA said they're going to deny us. We said we were going to appeal. We decided we're not going to appeal because we had CARES money to pay for what FEMA wasn't. FEMA said, okay, withdraw your appeal. We'll deny you. And now they haven't denied us. So until
They have to deny you for you to spend the CARES money on it?
Deny us to get reimbursed from FEMA, because then we can charge it to CARES.
All right.
And
well, we'll talk about that in the next meeting.
All right.
Next meeting, we'll talk about CARES. But you did mention 29.8 county allocation.
Yes.
I am familiar with the county allocation, so we got the 93, right?
Yep.
For the regular, and then
Yep.
the county allocation is 29.8. Did we get that yet?
Not yet. Guidance was just released. Yes, Tuesday or Wednesday this week.
Yep.
From DOR. That money is not coming directly to us. It's going through the state.
Yep.
They just released the guidance on how to get at it. And I'm looking for a little further guidance, but we can get half of that up front through the state. They might attach a few more strings to it, but we expect to get access to that probably in the coming weeks or a month or so.
And are the guidelines the same as the ARPA?
Guidelines are the same as ARPA. The reportings could be slightly different based upon the state wanting to have their reports, because they want it all to feed into their reports when they report back to the feds. And we're hoping they don't put any extra strings to it. But this is
I'm sure they will. Yeah,
I'm sure they will too, but this is an opportunity for 130 million, roughly $127 million in the city of Springfield to be spent strategically. And they did put out clarifying language on parks. So Tom and I are looking at park language of things we can do for our parks and our neighborhoods. They put out clarifying language on police, anti-gang violence, anti-gun violence. There's a lot of money available for that. I mean, this is a time that I was just saying to the commissioner last week, this is the time we got to be forward thinking and strategic on what we're trying to do here, because we have an influx of money that doesn't necessarily need to go to personnel, but can go to other services or wraparound services or interventions or whatever it may be. I don't have the answer for it, but I'm excited about what we can do.
Yeah.
And we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of good ideas out there.
The community is looking forward to giving their input, and so I'm looking forward to the listening sessions next month.
Me too.
And hopefully we can get someone who can it'll be a recorded video, but hopefully we can get someone who can like take great notes and
well, my hope, if Tom and I are interviewing a candidate next week for the analyst job for Tom, if he gets in and is given the job, we can have him take the notes on behalf of everybody.
Okay.
So we all have it and we can share the notes with everybody.
Yeah, it'd be really great to have like a written running record of that stuff, and that's very helpful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we got a maximum amount of participants that we can have, and then we'll have a waiting list to see if we need more meetings and things like that. But we working out those details with Focus Springfield, and so as soon as the registration and everything is ready, we will get all that out to you and the community and Paul and Peter and everybody, counselors. So I'm going to open it up to Counselor Letterman. I think that those are all the questions that I had. So I really appreciate your time and your candidness in answering those. Counselor Letterman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Tom and TJ. Most of my questions were answered, through your presentation as well. I think I'll have some questions on the legal process for attaining the properties, but I don't think we have to deal with those here. I think ultimately people are just ready to give their input. And so I'm encouraged to hear that the RFPs are almost ready. I know that was something that we talked a lot about before, the acceptance of the money. And I think people to be able to have a meaningful, not just even opinion granted, but really requests submitted to the administration will be helpful. So I think that that's going to be very beneficial. We had TJ, you participated in the virtual town hall that we held through the COVID response committee a few months ago. I think we had a lot of counselors there as well. And I mean, there were 50 participants in that. So people are ready, and we got a lot, out of that as well. So I think as much opportunity as is available for people to just give their input, it's an unprecedented amount of money.
Yeah.
So it's going to take an unprecedented process to get it done. I will say logistically, the finance department has been appearing before the COVID-19 response committee as far as the funds concerned, direct responses to the pandemic. And you have been doing that every 2 weeks. So we may want to work together, Councilor Whitfield, with the president, just to make sure we're not stretching the finance department too much between the two committees, because I think there's certainly overlap, and we can, figure that out. Of course, all committees, meet regularly. So we know that's part of the department's responsibility. But if there's something where they don't have it for COVID-19 response and it is more relevant on this end, I think that, we can figure that out to make sure that they are able to do that. I will say, the hazard pay was something I was really interested in hearing about. I'm glad you brought that up as well. I'm hopeful to see the bargaining go as swiftly as possible. And I think that
So I could tell you
have definitely
two have already approved the TA, and the department heads have submitted their recommendations to the HR department. So those two could possibly be in next week's paycheck. So it's as quickly as these unions want to come, and we're encouraging them all, because this is a once in a, not lifetime, but once in a very few years we're able to take advantage of an opportunity to give merit raise or bonus. This is a one-time bonus. This is kind of to make up for all the work that they did before. We didn't add it to base because it was going to destroy our pension, further hurt our pension. But this is a one-time nice little bonus for everybody.
So they're bargaining it. This is bargained separately from their contract. This is
for most of them, yeah. Some of them wanted it main table. Some of them wanted just as a side agreement.
All right. And then Tom, the last thing, just you should have received an invitation from Susan for the COVID-19 response committee next week. It meets every 2 weeks, but we were hoping you might come and talk a little more about your position, which it sounds like you are figuring out. So, but we're happy for you. I meant to call you. It's been a busy week.
That's okay.
Fantastic choice.
When is the meeting, Counselor?
It's next Tuesday at 4:30. It's every other Tuesday.
Tuesday at 4:30. Yeah, I think I can be there next week.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, for calling this meeting. Very important issues. And I'll look forward to the future.
Thank you. And while I appreciate that the finance team meets with the COVID-19 at the COVID-19 meetings, I think that we're going to need a little bit more time, because on those meetings, you specifically talk about other things, and you talk about the numbers of COVID cases in the community. And this one is going to be specifically for the finance, the RFP process, what information is getting out to the community, what the funding is going to be used for. So it's specifically for the funding, which typically goes through the finance committee. And so
I agree, Madam Chair. I agree fully. I'm just saying that on our
no,
end,
I understand. I understand. They do go to some of the COVID-19 meetings, and it's important, because as much as we can get the information out to the community, the better, right? I do not want to overwhelm the finance team with a bunch of meetings, however. And so we can decide as a group if meetings are needed, if they're not, if there's no real updates and things like that. We can discuss that ahead of time before we call the meetings. But I do want to have the weekly meetings in place in the event that we do need them. Sure, Counselor.
No, I agree. And I think to that point, for TJ, if you guys don't have anything on our end either, same thing. Don't feel like.
No, we'll let you know. We're pretty good at.
Melanie has popped on, and I'm like, oh, it's great you're here. What would you know if you have anything? But we don't, that way you guys don't feel like you're having to show up.
We try to be as responsive to the requests and the needs of the council. I know we get a lot of requests throughout the year, so we try to get everything back in a quick turnaround. We're going to continue to do that because we feel that's for the good government and good relationships. I got to work with you as a body every day, every week. So it doesn't do me any good for being to throw up roadblocks or to be non-responsive. So that's kind of my approach has been. It's been my approach the whole time I've been working for the city. So is to try to avoid some of these moments where there's tension, but we're not always going to agree, but I'm always going to be open and honest and have that dialogue.
Definitely appreciate that. Any more questions, Councilor Letterman, or comments from you?
Oh, no, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I do appreciate that you always are one of the regular attendees at the COVID response committees. And I will.
I don't think I made it to the last one because I was out of town.
I will
on vacation.
later and look forward.
But I intend to be there next Tuesday, and I appreciate you also because you regularly attend most meetings. So definitely appreciate that. So we'll be in touch.
All right.
I don't think we have anything else, Tom. I look forward to
Great. Councilor
talking to
Whitfield,
you.
on a side,
Yes.
on a side
Mhm.
note, did you see the results for the Brightwood Lincoln project of how well the REO performed?
Did I see the results?
Yeah, it got sent out with Melvin and the mayor yesterday. We met or exceeded most of the goals for the REO for when you were involved in us redoing the REO back. Took a couple of years now. But I wanted to make sure you see, if you didn't see it, I'll send you the numbers. It is.
Oh, I think a press release went out a little while ago about it.
Yeah. just
Yeah,
about
I didn't read it yet because I was working, so, but I definitely will look at that email. Were they good?
Yeah, veterans are good. The residents, I mean, we didn't hit residents, but we were damn close. We exceeded in all other categories. It was great. It was how it was
That's fantastic.
designed. Finally, it was how it was designed to work, so.
Yeah, that's great, because when I go by DeBerry Homer, I always see like what looks to me like good numbers too. You
Yeah.
know, from my visual.
Yeah, it's Well, once you do it once, the contractors kind of realize that we're not messing around.
Mm-hmm. That's
And when they
good.
see you get a boatload of money, they're like, wow, they actually have money. to
Yeah,
spend.
they're not playing. We better do the right thing so we
Right.
can get some of that. No, that's great. So I'll definitely read that, and we definitely appreciate the hard work going into making sure, you know, residents, minorities, women, veterans, folks with disability are all taken care of, you know.
And then when you have a chance, talk to Che about the vision of the department. You're gonna love it.
What did you say, TJ? I didn't hear that part.
When you have a chance, talk to Che about Che Swan about the vision of the department. I think you're gonna love it. So.
Yeah, because he's good. I went to some of the REO meetings and he reports out on some of that stuff too. So that I think that's a win-win because he has that skill set. Just like I think Tom's a win because he has that lawyer skill set. So it's gonna be good stuff.
Right.
Good stuff.
There you go, Tom. I did something right. Did two
Very
things.
exciting.
Yeah, you don't do everything right.
The next 10 things will be wrong.
You
but I
just
did
get the
two things
blame
right.
for it. It's not. But no, thank you guys. I'm not
Thank
gonna
you.
take any more of your time, let you
Yep.
get back to your family. So I am going to end the meeting and I appreciate your willingness as always.
All right, we'll talk soon. If you need anything, email or call me.
All righty. Thank
See
you.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
counselors. I'll see you
counselor.
on Monday night.
All right. See ya.
All right, see ya.